Good afternoon, good morning. This is Mark Johnson from Loyalty 360. Hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. I want to welcome you back to another edition of our Leaders in Customer Loyalty series. In this series, we talk to the brand leaders about what they are seeing and hearing on the front lines of customer channel and brand loyalty. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Stacey Pool. She is a Chief Marketing Officer for Noodles Company. How are you today, Stacey?
I am doing fantastic. It's Friday.
Great.
We're ahead of the weekend. I'm doing great.
That is correct. Hopefully you'll have a wonderful weekend out in Colorado. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you.
So first off, we like to start these on a more personal level. We love to get to know the person we're speaking with, in a little more. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your kind of job history, and then also a little bit about your position at Noodles Company?
Yeah, I have been the Chief Marketing Officer here at Noodles Company for 3 years now. So I joined 2 months, 8 weeks before the pandemic, which is crazy to even think. I feel very happy and proud that we made it through. So that's a big win for the last 3 years. But before that, I actually really started my career in the technology space, which I think has been very beneficial to me just because marketing is so much around, focused on marketing technology. And so having that background allows me to be fairly deadly in that space. But I started my career at Accenture in the consulting world. Then I moved over to the client side and stayed client side ever since then. But I've moved around to a lot of different positions. I've done, I grew up in the digital world. So I've done e-commerce. I've been a IT business analyst during that time frame. Also played a lot on the operational side, crazy enough, before I headed my way into the marketing space. But probably I would say the biggest growth job that I had was definitely at Vail Resorts. That's where I was right before Noodles Company. But I was blessed and very honored to work for our CEO there as his chief of staff. And that was like a year of just and kind of like an accelerated MBA program. So for me, that was probably the most pivotal moment for being able to kind of be where I'm at now. So really fun, different industries, a pretty exciting journey I've had.
That's awesome. And for a fun fact, we love to get a fun fact, a passion you may have, skiing, scuba diving, herding cows. What's a fun fact?
Herding cows. Yeah, sometimes, our next door neighbors race donkeys. So I'd really love to say that that's my passion, but I have not been honored to do that quite yet. I would say, I have a 16 and a 13-year-old. We're right in the sweet spot of being able to take them and travel with them anywhere. We just 2 weeks ago took them over to Germany and Italy to just experience the history of that part of the world. And so by far, that's my family's biggest passion, is going out, exploring, seeing different cultures. I think that that's really, really important. So I just love to travel.
Okay, great. It's always fun to travel. When you look at Noodles Company, familiar with Noodles Company, can you tell us a little bit more about the restaurant chain, maybe a little bit of history, how it was founded, for those who may not know?
Yeah, absolutely. Noodles Company started in 1995 in Colorado and then extended its presence into Wisconsin. And then now we have just over 450 restaurants. A lot of people ask me how much is franchise and company. So franchise is around 20%. The other 80% is company owned. And our presence is really heavy in the Midwest area. We have a lot of restaurants in Minnesota. We have restaurants in Wisconsin, Illinois, Colorado. And so, it's interesting to have such a high concentration there, but we have very high loyalty in those spaces as well. We serve, upwards of like 22 different dishes that are inspired by the global flavors of the world. Our culinary team has tremendous experience and understanding of the trends that are out there. And I think that they do such a great job of bringing new flavors, new spices, even new noodles into the food portfolio just to provide exposure to different flavors of the world. That's really important to us. And so, yeah, I think if you haven't tried it, Mark, hopefully you have, but if you haven't tried it,
Yes.
it's worth it because, we're known for a couple of things. One is the variety that you have on the menu. So often we'll hear you can get something for everyone. So everybody in your party is happy when they go to Noodles. But the other part of it, and we just launched this back in May, was our new brand position, which is Uncommon Goodness. But the reason I'm going to bring this up is because it is truly who we are. We're very unexpected. That's what you think when you think of uncommon, is like, wow, the food is so delicious. It's a great value. The experience is just quite unique when it comes to the fast casual space. But then you think of the word goodness and you think around, they're just good. Like, they're good people. They have great values. It's great food. It's good service, good ambiance. And so those two words together really encapsulate the evolution of the brand. So we mostly everything you'll see around now is showing uncommon goodness.
That's awesome. That's great to hear that. Very familiar with Noodles Company. It once was a big staple. We couldn't drive by going. When we drove by one, we would always stop in, especially I have kids that play at a pretty high level, sports, soccer, swimming. So we're usually all over the country. So obviously pasta is a good thing in that regard. So yes, very familiar with Noodles Company. Great product.
Thanks.
So when you look at customers, we have about 150 members that are brands that are members of Loyalty 360. We talk with them about a number of topics, and one of the big topics is how customers are changing. Going through COVID, there are some changes, coming out of COVID, and now changing again. How do you see your customers changing at Noodles and Company, and maybe in kind of the fast casual industry in general?
Yeah, it's interesting because there was obviously a lot of movement over the course of the last 3 years. But what I would say is one thing that's held really solid for us and has been consistent is digital, the usage of digital. We actually had a very strong digital presence before COVID. We had upwards of 55% of our sales coming through digital. It remains about that. Now, of course, it accelerated when everything shut down, but we still are one of the leaders when it comes to digital ordering. So that's continuing to hold. But what I would say, what we're kind of seeing now in terms of changes is, there are definitely pressures, inflationary pressures that consumers are feeling. And so they're looking for deals. They're engaging with brands that they're super loyal to, that they know that they're going to get their money's worth. So that's probably the biggest change right now, is how do you ensure that the entire experience that the guest has with you feels great, right? Because they are so value conscious. And I'd say we've done a good job of introducing not necessarily discounts, because we don't discount our brand, but we expose the fact that we have something for everyone, whether it is food or whether it's a price point. And then we're highly, highly engaged with our rewards members. And we've seen really strong engagement over the last 6 months as people kind of like tighten their belts a little bit around their financials. So that's probably I would say in the last 6 months has been the biggest noticeable thing for me.
Okay, excellent. Partnerships, they're a significant area of interest for brands today, growing area of interest for members of Loyalty 360, especially for those who run customer loyalty programs. What do partnerships mean to Noodles and Company, and how do you make them mutually beneficial to all participants?
Yeah, partnerships are extremely critical. And I'm going to talk about partnerships from two different angles. One is the internal partners we have, like we have amazing vendor support that lets us, do what we need to do and help support us and push us to continue to innovate. And then we have the external partnerships. Both are absolutely instrumental for our success. But some of the external partners that we've done a partnership with Truff. We're currently partnering with BetterHelp around mental wellness. It's Mental Wellness Month, and it's really, really important for us. And it's to our core as a brand to focus on mental health and making sure that our employees have access to the tools that they need, as well as guests. So this BetterHelp partnership is really about providing therapy to people that maybe wouldn't have access to it. And so if you visit one of our stores, you get a month of therapy from BetterHelp. And so the reason that they're important to us is not just reinforces our core values, but it benefits our guests in a unique way that is definitely different from what they might get from somebody else.
Okay. And how did the partnership with BetterHelp come into being?
Yeah, so the idea came about. Really, it was came about when we started talking about our employees and like the some of the primary things that they're struggling with, just because that is such a massive focus for us. And it continued to surface, and I think everybody is feeling this right now, is how much more people are aware of their own mental health, but how much more challenging it has been to stay mentally healthy over the last 3 years. So we're seeing it with our employees. And then you see these macro trends. And we were talking with our creative agency of like, how do we address this? And so it came about from just understanding guest trends, understanding where our employees at, and how we can truly leverage our value system around loving and caring for our guests and employees. And that's how it came about. And then of course we reached out to BetterHelp, and they felt like it was a strong partnership too, based on their value system and our value system.
Excellent. Okay. That's great. And corporate social responsibility is a big area of focus for our people who run customer loyalty programs. But getting it right can be a big challenge. A lot of people talk about being corporately responsible and doing things that benefit their employees and customers, and they may not always do so. But it sounds like yours is very strategically designed to help people in a very germane manner. When you look at the partnerships with BetterHelp, how does that fit into your overall CSR strategy?
Yeah, the CSR strategy, we really have four pillars of our CSR strategy. We have people, we have communities, we have food, and we have the planet. And so those four things, everything that we do, we think about how is it going to continue to evolve our strategies in those four areas. And the BetterHelp partnership was really, I think it can help all of them, but it was really around two big pieces, which is how are we helping our communities, which is our guests? How are we providing them tools and access to things that they may not have, had previously? And our mission starts with nourishing and inspiring our team members, our guests, and our communities. That's our mission. And so when we think about that, it is about how can we give back to our communities, which BetterHelp did. And then also, how do we reinforce with our team members, our people, that taking care of their mental health is their number one priority. And so, anything that we do, whether it's something that we're looking at sustainable packaging or whether we're looking at, bringing in new ingredients, it all rolls up to what are some of our guiding principles in each of those four pillars.
Okay, excellent. And when you look at customer loyalty, it's very important, growing area of importance and impact. We'd love to understand how brands are defining customer loyalty, what it means to them from a qualitative perspective. How do you define customer loyalty? What does it mean to Noodles and Company?
Yeah, at the very largest level, I would say customer loyalty is really about lifetime value. And we are getting more and more sophisticated to understand how valuable a guest is to us over the time that they've been with us. So at the very top level, that's what I would say is the most important thing for us. And then the tool that we use to help engage in a more personalized and targeted way is definitely our rewards program. But loyalty at the top level, of course, we want everybody in our rewards program. But for me, it is very much on like, how are we bringing people back into the brand? And ideally, they'd be part of that program. So loyalty to me at the top level is around lifetime value. But then it is about the advocacy, that people have around the brand. Are they talking about it? Are they posting about it? Are they giving us, positive scores when they're giving us feedback? Are they having a great experience at our restaurants? Are they saying that our food is delicious? Because food, when it comes down to it, craveable food is the thing that the reason people go back to our
Absolutely.
restaurants. So I think that that's important, and we monitor all those metrics because we do have a pretty good sense of what drives overall loyalty.
Excellent. And when you look at your customer loyalty program, your rewards program, what are two or three things that you think Noodles and Company is doing well?
Yeah, I think number one, I would say is personalization. I think we have done a great job on leveraging the data that we have to make the experience with our program and our brand more personalized. I'm very, very proud of the number of members we have. We have just beat 4.5 million, which was a goal for ours in 2022. And I think that that's important because if you kind of look at our footprint, which is around the 450, like we have a pretty small footprint. So to have 4.5 million members in our program, I'm really, really proud of that. And then I would say the third thing is engagement with our program. Like we have seen very strong engagement, especially over the last 6 months. And the way we look at engagement is both from the, like how many of those members are active in our program, but then also how is redemption growing? Are we giving them the right offers and are they redeeming those offers? And is that growing? And we had record numbers in the latter half of last year, which I'm really, really proud of.
That's awesome. When you look at the program, are there a few things that you would like to do better, things that you think you could improve upon?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I think one is, I think a lot of programs in our industry specifically are oriented around points. And we've done a lot of research that points are a little challenging for people to understand. So if we're going to keep some aspect of points, we have to educate. Like we've got to educate what points mean and how quickly you can get points and then how you use them. So it's kind of just this educational component. And then the second thing I would say is that we just need to accelerate our growth, our member growth and our engagement, because that data is just absolutely essential to be able to go out and deliver, a better offer, a better message, and just to be more targeted and personalized with our data. And so I think that we can continue to get better and better on how we're growing the program and engaging our guests in the program.
Okay. Excellent. You kind of touched on a little bit, and there's a growing focus within brands today to understand their customers a little bit better. Customers are changing. How are you focusing on understanding your customers at Noodles Company?
We do extensive research. I would say that, especially in the rewards program, we've done extensive research. And the second thing is we are building up our marketing analytics team to be able to really assess, like, if we put out an offer and we're testing that offer, so say we have an A and a B offer, what's resonating with guests, but not at a macro level. We do look at it at a more segmented level. So people that are highly loyal, what's going to resonate with them more than people that maybe are just joining the program. So for us, it is about really digging into the data, whether it is coming from a study that we've done or whether it's our own data, and just constantly iterating and testing and learning along the way.
Okay, great. When you look at the program that you've rolled out, very successful, if you could look at one of your competitors and ask them a question about their program, a program maybe you admire, maybe not even necessarily a competitive program, what question would you ask?
So I'm glad you said not necessarily a competitive program, because I'm going to go out of industry. Because I'm very loyal to some brands, and the one I'm probably most loyal to is Sephora. Sephora has had this loyalty program forever. I mean, it feels like forever for me. But, as I was kind of like processing and thinking about like different loyalty programs, and what I've been observing is I keep going back to, why does Sephora pull me in every single time? And I can get their product really anywhere. Most things I can get anywhere. And whether it's a hair product or makeup product, I go back to Sephora instead of some just like, big shop that like a Nordstrom's or something like that. And here's what I would say is that there's choice. There's choice in how you leverage the program benefits, and there's a lot of choice in their stores. Exclusivity. So you feel like when you walk up to their point of sale system and you can choose, there's the choice piece, but then you're getting exposure to these exclusive items that you may not have access to. Like, to me, I feel really, really special that I can choose, but then I'm getting access to something that I haven't before. And I would say the third piece is really about, like, I feel like there's tremendous value coming back to me in terms of the program, is that I could choose my dollar off. I could try a new product. I just constantly get this feeling that I'm progressing in the program and I'm getting value out of it. So that being said, if you take it back to the Noodles Rewards program, we are doing more around choice. We have exclusivity around when we bring in a new product, we are actually offering it to our rewards members only. And then the value equation is like, how are you looking at that value from beginning to end? So if I could ask Sephora one thing, I'd say, What was the moment in time? What is the decision that you made to accelerate growth and drive more engagement? Because that's ultimately what I think that we can do better at.
Okay, great. Well, Sephora is a member of Loyalty 360, so I could introduce you to the person running the program. You could ask her.
I would love that.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you. That
Yeah,
like just
absolutely.
yay.
When you look at your program, how do you keep it current with ever-changing needs of the customers, the interest of your customers? How do you keep it up to date?
Yeah, I would say the research that we've done has informed a couple of things. One is that people want more value from the program. And so leveraging that research and putting it into practice, we're in the middle of doing that right now. So when we think about keeping it up to date, not only are we looking at, programs outside the industry, programs inside the industry, but also what are our guests telling us? How are they behaving? And how are we going to continue to test and learn around it? So like one thing that we've heard in some of our research lately, and also what you're seeing from some of the other programs is people want to feel like they're getting something every time they visit. That's the way I felt about Sephora, right? Like every time I go, I get to pick something within the program. And so, this always on benefit that they get from being part of the program, we're going to be doing some testing and learning around that, because that's the feedback that we've got is like, I want to feel like I'm getting rewarded every time I walk in. And points is part of that, but then also what is something tangible that they can get in that moment as well.
Okay, excellent. Looking forward to hearing more on that.
Yeah.
And the last, second last question, actually the last question, what can Loyalty 360 do to help you and your team and your customer loyalty journey?
Well, you just said it. That's amazing. If connecting us with other programs to just understand how they're driving success, how they're driving engagement, I think that would be amazing. I also think, Mark, the content that you put out and the conversations you're having are invaluable to me. Being able to watch them to understand what people are doing. So just continuing to have that conversation to me is really, really important, because that's the type of stuff that you don't get access to all the time. So the fact that you're bringing it forward so that we can all do better and all learn has been very valuable. So please keep going with those conversations.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Stacey, for that feedback. And also thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. We appreciate it and look forward to continuing to learn and see what Noodles Company does in 2023.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a nice conversation. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and make sure you join us back for another edition of our Leader in Customer Loyalty series. Have a wonderful day.